Okay, guys, welcome to the Sold Out podcast. Today we're joined by Robbie, the founder of Sneakerhead Ireland and Emporium. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit?
What's up, guys? My name is Robbie. I made, with a few other people, a sneaker group in about 2014 called Sneakerhead Ireland. Then another streetwear group following that called Streetwear Ireland. And that kind of led me to running an event called Emporium, which is why I'm here.
Yeah, perfect. So, I mean, I wanted to have you on for, since we started this, just because, it overlaps so perfectly with, obviously, Sneakerhead Ireland. I think that's why we're all here. And even, we've had Coffee and Kicks on in the past as well, and we were in talks of kind of doing some sort of collab at some stage.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that. But so I just wanted to say, kind of get into, because I joined the group around 2016, when the Pirate Blacks, I think, came out. And I think a lot of people jumped on Sneakerhead Ireland kind of when Yeezys started popping off. So I want to get your perspective, before Yeezys were so popular, and you probably had this big influx of people come on.
Yeah.
What was it like before that, and how has it changed after,
When we first made that group, it started because I was talking to someone on adverts, and we were talking about the fact that it was so hard to sell shoes on adverts. And if we just had a marketplace on Facebook for Ireland, because there was always these UK ones because they were so much bigger there.
Yeah.
It would be great for us if we could have that domestic market, online but domestic. And we made that group, and it was mostly people who like Jordans, people who collected old Jordans, and that was what was easy to find on adverts. And you literally just leave a comment being like, hey, I think you should join this group. And maybe we had 100 members after almost a year. And then
so by 2015,
maybe 2015, or in the start of 2015, we maybe had about 100 members. And I ran into this other group. This was a big one, was when I ran to another group that was there was this original sneaker festival. It wasn't really a festival. It was like a pop-up at the Beat Yard, and I was too young to go to it, which was not great. But it was called Dub City Sneaks. So some of the guys who were in the group for a lot longer will know about Dub City Sneaks. They even did the Supreme rip-off box logo saying Dub City Sneaks, and we ran into their Facebook group, and they had about 100 people as well, 100 different people. So we ended up basically getting everybody from that group to join Sneakerhead Ireland, and then vice versa. So now we had two groups, and we made one of them the marketplace, and we made one of them the forum.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's how we ended up with the two different ones, because that's what all the UK groups are doing. You had your forum and you had your marketplace, and that wasn't really necessary at the time, but as you continue to grow,
it's relevant now.
You've got so many sale posts, and you've got so many discussion posts, and you really don't want that much of an overlap. It's just easier. Even just policing it wise, it's easier to have it like that. But I think that actually might have hindered our growth a little. But it started off so small, so then we ended up with 200 in each group, and again, it was still Jordans. You get the occasional cool vintage Nike Air thing, and the reselling thing hadn't really permeated it yet, because those guys who were reselling were probably mostly just using the UK groups. But that slowly kind of filtered into, and then when the first Yeezy release happened, it was before the Pirate Blacks. It was the Turtle Dove release. There was a camp. People were legitimately just going person to person, being like, hey, are you in this group? Hey, are you in this group? Not even people who I knew that well, just people who were in the group would go and do that. And then we maybe got another 100 members really quickly, because the people who were in those lines had friends like shoes as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so then you had every release, we started getting more and more and more. And then I think it really, really blew up around the time of 750s.
That's what I was going to say is I remember learning about the group for... It was actually the Triple Black 750s. Yeah. I went in, and it was a JD in-store raffle, and you had to fill it out on the iPad. Yeah. And the girl behind, doing it just told me about the group. And it seems so weird to me now, because I'm I don't really think she's it was a weird thing to recommend almost.
Yeah.
It wasn't I wasn't sure if she was that passionate that, or did she just know to recommend it or something. Yeah, it was weird.
Maybe she just thought it would be a good conversation piece with you, because you obviously like shoes and stuff like that. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's funny how that happens though. I always tell people who come into the shop, I work in Offspring, so I'll tell people oh yo, if you're looking, they'll be oh, do you have this shoe? Did you get this shoe? What do you think of these shoes? Just make conversation. And I'll be oh, by the way, join this marketplace or join this group, and you can find stuff that's cool. But I'm someone who made that group, so it makes sense for me to say. But when other people are saying it, it's holy crap, it's great.
Because it was just kind of an offhand comment, but the fact that it was staff, you know what I mean? It was just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's strange.
But yeah, so ever since the Yeezy release, it's just everyone. It was probably a couple hundred people joining.
Yeah, so you started getting like bigger and bigger increases each time. So maybe it was 100, then it was 120, then it was like you get a week where you get like, maybe in a day you get like 50, and then there'd be like 40, 40, 40, 30, 20. You keep getting like so many requests, and it's so hard to filter through all those. So we probably let in a lot of spam around then as well.
Yeah.
But then we got better at it, and just took a while reviewing everybody who's coming in to make sure it's a real account and all that, and properly enforcing rules. But because of that, it really blew up, and that kind of caused like, because you had all these guys who thought of themselves as like the older generation of sneakerheads, like, I love sneakers because I've liked sneakers for so long, and then you have this new generation of people who like Yeezys, and they are just being introduced to this whole sneaker thing, and you get this kind of big clash. And I kind of sat somewhere in the middle of that, because even though I was a young person, and I still am, I had been into basketball sneakers, because this all came from basketball for me. So I was kind of with them in the style tastes, but I could completely understand this whole newly being into shoes thing.
Yeah.
So that was a bit strange.
Because you were like a Kanye fan as well, but also like a Jordan fan.
Yeah, more so just even like beyond, like, I'm not a crazy big fan of Kanye. Like, I wouldn't really get a shoe just because it's a Kanye shoe. I get a shoe because I like a shoe, what it looks like. But I could even just understand, like, I remember the first time I saw, like, I don't know, as much as I said I wouldn't buy a Kanye shoe because Kanye shoe, I remember like going back to basketball sneakers, seeing like the Kobe 4, and I wanted it so bad, and I couldn't get it, and my parents wouldn't get it for me. Like, they get me the Sports Direct basketball shoes, and I was hyped on them. And then when I finally got my first job, I got enough money, I bought like 3 pairs off like eBay. I was just like, I need them, I want them, I'm gonna get them. So like, I can completely understand. And I was new into shoes at that point, I didn't know anything, but I love these shoes. So like, you have to be able to appreciate that. If you love shoes, you can't tell anybody else that their loving shoes is like BS just because it's new.
Just because it's different to you as well.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the things, like when I got started as well, is like you kind of get jaded a bit after a while, because then you start paying attention to what's hype, what's hot. Yeah. But in the start, like, you'd see a shoe and it wouldn't matter if no one else was rocking it. You could look at your shoe and your taste hasn't been altered yet.
Hasn't developed, almost, you know, even as well. You're still kind of like, oh, is that cool? I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like, you're not waiting on the pressure of other people to tell you or not. Yeah. Like, I remember looking at is it Son of Mars Jordan 5? Is it?
No, the Son of Mars is its own sneaker. It's like a mashup of a few different Jordans. Yeah. So there's the high top, which looks very Jordan 5, with like the cross strap, and then there's the Son of Mars low, that's basically the same thing without the cross strap, and a bit lower cut. I actually have a pair of the low top ones. I got them on adverts for like €10, just like practice fixing stuff. But yeah, those are like, if you were to put them in front of like a Jordan head, even a Jordan head would probably be like, eh. But like, if you like them at that time, then like, you were probably just like, yeah, fuck it, I'll get them. Yeah,
like, I never pulled the trigger, but I think obviously it was kind of influenced from the Solars. Like, that was always like my grail, like when I was before collecting. I finally got a pair. But what was kind of like your grails when you started? Like, what was kind of, when I really talking about the Kobe 4s, but
when I like, there's definitely 2 distinct stages in me liking sneakers. The first one was that innocent one where it was just basketball sneakers, and it was like, I wanted to get these shoes because like, I used to be a really, really serious basketball player. I'm not going to say I was really good, but I really love basketball, and I still do, but I just don't play like that anymore. But around that time, like, you show up to a game and you're 15, 16, and you're looking at the other team, and you, like, in Ireland, you're legitimately looking at their shoes, and whoever has good shoes can probably play. And then like, whoever's wearing like, you know, a pair like, I don't know, Adidas running shoes, they're probably trash. So I'd always be showing up to stuff, like, I go to like a Leinster training session, I'd be wearing like these Sports Direct basketball shoes that I paid £20 for in Cambridge, and my mum wouldn't pay for anything more than that or something like that, because it was a shoe. Shoes aren't worth that much. So like, when I first got money, it was like, I wanted to get the Kobe 4s, I wanted to get the KD 4s in the Scoring Champ colorway and the Christmas colorway. I wanted those so bad. And then I wanted Jordan 11s, because I grew up watching conveniently VHS tapes, which legitimately don't exist anymore and probably shouldn't have then. My brother just had a couple of old ones.
Were they like recorded off the TV? Or?
No, they were like legitimate
highlight reels.
Yeah. And like, one of the games is like Jordan playing in a pair of Bred 11s, and I knew I loved 11s. And I remember reading like Slam magazine when I was a kid, and they used to have this section on sneakers, and even like, they'd ask like the fans what their favorite sneaker was, and like, you'd write back in and people would be like the Jordan 11, and then they like asked for one interview, they compared like questions asked to fans with the same questions they had an interview with MJ, and MJ said his favorite shoe was the 11.
Oh, no
so
way.
I was like, okay, I definitely, yeah, 11s are sick. And even like the inspiration behind them, like he wanted them to be cool on court, but you could wear them with a suit, because that was when like the first time the baggy was super in then. And I really wanted a pair of those, so when I got my first check, one of the first things I bought actually was a pair of 11s. I got the Gamma Blue colorway, and I didn't wear them for months because I liked them so much. And that's when like the second stage of me liking sneakers started, where it became like I wore those, I played basketball a couple times, and then I realized that I like wearing them not playing basketball. And that's when I realized I like sneakers outside of basketball too, like a lot. And that's when this like second phase started, where it's like I want to buy shoes to like wear them around the place, not just to like play basketball in them.
Yeah, I get you. And so what, you started the Facebook group just to kind of buy and sell, kind of like to help you buy and sell?
Yeah, like initially I made the marketplace group, and then the group we ran into, the WC Sneaks one, was more so a discussion group.
Yeah, so that's how that came about.
Yeah, and they're like, you can sell if you want.
Yeah.
So that's why we did that, separating the groups.
Yeah, because it's interesting, like we were talking kind of before we started recording about, you know, but if you hadn't have set up Sneakerhead Ireland, like so much stuff just wouldn't have happened, you know.
Yeah.
And even in other people's lives, like the group has gone up to like, you know, 4,000, 5,000 people. I'm not sure what it's on exactly, but you know, you have like people like we mentioned before, like Coffee and Kicks, and what I'm doing, and loads of people. Like if we just hadn't have found the Facebook group, it's almost hard to find that collection of people, because it really brings people together. Like I think people that care about what they look like tend to be into something creative and tend to like to work in collaboration with each other. And it bred like so much kind of nearly entrepreneurial stuff in Ireland as well. Yeah. Even with the pop up of, you know, like
you
brands,
get like Unit popping up, and you get like these streetwear brands, streetwear group being like, hey, I just dropped this, check it out, or like, what's your opinion on this versus this? Even just like finding each other through that. Yeah, it's
like, you have like Nostalgia, Diamond Piece, like, you know, I just feel like it networks so well. Then I can obviously Instagram as well is kind of where it's at as well. But and so then talk to me about at what stage you felt like you needed to have a showcase for these brands with Emporium.
Emporium kind of happened because, like, I think I'd even been talking about it with you as well. We've been talking about like Irish-based brands, and you wanted to cover them with Sold Out, and we were talking about like even the idea of having like brands together doing a pop-up. And I realized that through these groups I had like a link to so many different brands, and through like Facebook led to the Instagram accounts. Like you'd post it, you'd be like, hey, follow me on Instagram, I'll follow you back, we can like get to know each other better type things. So I ended up knowing like every brand that I invited to that showcase, I already knew them more or less. Yeah. Through Facebook, through my job, through all that. And I kind of felt like streetwear in Ireland is something that's pretty, like, I know if I say it's new, that somebody who loved that genre of clothing years ago is going to be like, oh, screw you, man. It started with skate. It's not new. It started with skate. I was wearing Stoney in 1980. Like, yeah, that's, or whenever, like, you know, that's always going to be a thing. But it's new in the sense that it's small and it's still being established. It's
still in its infancy. It's still changing.
Yeah, totally. And what you've got a lot of is you have, due to social media, due to the internet, we have this, like, global homogenous culture, and that's really evident in what people wear who are super tuned into Instagram and stuff. You have Off-White, you have Yeezy, you have like all these different big brands in streetwear, and I think it's really important that at the same time as you having these big brands that are global and recognized, that you have this like homegrown culture, because streetwear to me should be more culturally relevant to a place. Like if you go to Paris, even district to district, people dress differently. Like my favorite store is Pigalle, and in like that's a district as well as the name of the store, and in the district of Pigalle, like they're wearing a really distinct type of clothes, they're wearing really distinct streetwear, and like the stores there, they don't sell online, they only sell in that district, so you have to come to them. I think that's really cool. But it's really culturally relevant.
It's a bit like old school Supreme.
Yeah,
like way back in.
Yeah, and Supreme used to be super culturally relevant to New York, and like all these brands start out with the ones that get huge. Let's say not Off-White and Yeezy, but you know those brands that were small and ended up blowing up, like Palace. They were, and to a degree still are, culturally relevant to that area. So I think it's really important for everybody to have their own distinct, like every place to have its own distinct style. And if you don't have these small brands given a chance to have a platform, then you don't get that. Yeah. And we haven't really had that. Like there's no brand that you can think of off the top of your head, I'd say, from Ireland that is like global, or that's like synonymous with streetwear to people who aren't crazy into clothes, but anyone could name Yeezy.
Yeah.
And it's important that you start to develop something.
Start to support your own homegrown brands, Irish brands, and stuff like that.
Because like otherwise, what's the point in being a creative in Ireland? Like if it's not going to lead you anywhere. Because if it doesn't lead you anywhere, then it's the real world. You know, you're screwed if you don't have a platform to project your creativity to make that into a living, more or less. So it gives everybody a chance to do their thing and facilitate their creativity. And
like it is interesting, like being in the infancy of this. Obviously, you know, it almost feels like, you know, we're kind of at the forefront of it because we're kind of, you know, with Emporium pushing the events and pushing the pop-ups, and you're seeing it with Coffee and Kicks, like, because I felt like there was a big difference since Coffee and Kicks with how the Facebook group kind of operated. Like beforehand, when it wasn't face-to-face, you know, you get that kind of anonymity of the internet, even though it's Facebook and you still have a name, but it's, you know, it doesn't matter.
Sneakers are whack, bro. Screw you, man.
It's like, you know, like,
so. Yeah, and then when you start getting that face-to-face, it's you notice it, like, you have these people who will always comment on each other's stuff. Like, I have lots of friends now that I did not have before just because of that. Like, I was hanging out with somebody this morning who I met off the sneaker group. I'm here now because I met you off sneaker groups, both of you guys. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, like, that's what I mean. It's just, it's kind of, I don't know, do you ever think about like the actual impact that setting up that group has? You know, yeah, it's weird. It's hard to quantify. Yeah, 4 years, like, as well. Even on my own life, it's insane. Yeah, like, let alone like everything else. Like, I know people who I only vaguely know, but like, let's say there's 4 of them that are like really good friends. They know each other from the sneaker groups. Like, I completely unintentionally did a thing and that caused that. That's crazy. Or even from my own life, like, I got a job basically in a retail store because of that. That got me another job in a retail store, and because of those two things, Emporium exists, and now everything's weird. Yeah, I get you. Like, and it's kind of funny because I feel like we were kind of talking again before the show, but like, you kind of just have to put something out there, and you never know what's going to happen. You know? And I feel like, if anything, people kind of should take note of that, is like, if you're thinking about doing something, thinking about starting something, just go out and do it. Especially, as we were saying, it's in its infancy. You know, you might just think your idea is kind of okay, but it might really click with like the community. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's what we're kind of doing here, and like, you're seeing like good response, and like, you know, Coffee and Kicks are doing the same sort of thing, Emporium's doing the same sort of thing, and it's like only growing, and like, you'll even see it globally, like with streetwear. Say a brand like Balenciaga. Before Demna came on, it was like totally different. And they take Demna on, and even a sneaker like, you know, the Triple S. You can see their rise in sales in shoes go up 25%, and I think it's purely attributed to streetwear. You know what I mean? Is the growth in these industries. Like, young men even buying T-shirt sales are up, like, and all of this sort of stuff. You know? Yeah, what I mean? Like, we're as a like. Global community. As a global community, we're all paying more attention to stuff like that. And you could definitely argue for that being negative in terms of consumerism and that, but it's also like this huge, crazy change in terms of people expressing themselves through clothes significantly more. And so were you kind of like, I know you're saying you got into shoes from basketball, but was there any sort of part of you that was interested in fashion before then? Was it, or has it kind of just grown on you since the Sneakerhead group? You know, it's a funny one, because like, I don't know, like, if you saw me when I was a kid and just like my parents and how I was raised, you'd expect me to be the opposite of like how I currently am. So I'd be like the black sheep from my family for liking clothes, more or less. Like, my parents are both like, I was really like, they were really old when I was born, so they're both like 40 when I'm born, and they're both PhD scientists. So like, you get that like typical professor type, like, I'm gonna wear the same pair of corduroys every day and a shirt. So when I was a kid, I was brought up like that. So I was going to school in like, I think I had 5 pairs of the same tracksuit bottoms and like 6 of the same like plain white t-shirts. I think a lot of people could probably identify with that, to be honest. Like, I was kind of similar, like, you know. Yeah, so I had Tesco shoes. You know, my parents, like, they could afford to buy me whatever sneakers, but they chose to really. Not, because to them it's like, why would you? So I spent a lot of my like childhood like that, and then I remember like, I'd be in school and like, people would, even like, kids are mean. So it's like, oh, why are you always wearing the same clothes? Or like, why are you always wearing like Dunn's clothes and like Tesco sneakers? Like, what's up? Or are you like, what the hell? So you get ragged on for stuff like that. And then secondary school, it was pretty much more the same. And then I got into shoes, and I was just into shoes. And I remember I went away for a summer. I worked full-time in Cambridge, and I was there pretty much by myself, and that meant that no one was watching what I was buying with this money that I had now in a bank account, so I could buy stuff online. Had a credit card, or not credit card, but debit cards. I could buy whatever. So I bought like all these shoes, and I must have come home with 22 pairs at the end of summer. Like,
how did you bring them back?
Legitimately, I made 2 trips back to Dublin. One was coming home properly, and then one was a visit. I, the first time, put maybe 8 pairs in my duffel and just flew home with
put the rest
luggage.
of them in like a storage unit or something?
And no, they were in my house, and then I left them in my, like, they're in the house I was staying in. The remainder were in the house I was staying in. So I brought them, put them into like my room at home, went back 3 days later because I was just visiting. I had work, so I then loaded up the rest of them when I was coming home for good, and I must have had like another, I think I actually bought 24 pairs.
That's
so what's that? I had like, I brought home 8 the first time, so I had
2
60,
pairs a month.
I had 60, yeah, more than that. I bought a lot of shoes. I remember I discovered like good eBay sellers, and that was just it. That was game over.
Just
like,
figured
it
out,
was
like.
insane. I spent half of all the money I made on shoes. I was 16. What the hell else was I gonna do? But I didn't like clothes, and I remember calling my friend James, he was in shoes before me. He was into clothes before me, and he's not into it to the same degree I am now at all, but he was the person who kind of raised my awareness to that. So I remember calling him. I'm on my way home, and I was just like, man, like, I bought all these shoes. I kind of wish I bought some jeans or something, because I didn't know have a single pair of jeans. Like a 16-year-old kid who didn't own a single pair of jeans. So
it was like work clothes and sneakers, like
work clothes, sneakers, basketball shorts, because like my life at that point was like, I'm probably playing basketball every single day. So why would I not wear clothes that I can play basketball in, or like that I can go to training in and be comfortable? And then at the same time, as clothes started becoming more important in my life, like basketball started becoming less important. I destroyed my ankles and that, so I wasn't playing basketball every day. So I was like, oh, okay, I might wear some jeans. And then I eventually started getting more into, like, it was pretty much just buy clothes so that you can wear them with your shoes. Not like because I like clothes, just
styling the outfit from the bottom up, like.
Yeah, which is still something I do really frequently, because I still, like, before anything, I love shoes. But then it got to a point where I hit college and there was no school uniform, so it's dressing yourself 7 days a week. And I was working in retail, so you're dressing yourself 7 days a week, and you need to look presentable every single day because you're in work or college every single day. So then that kind of started becoming a thing, and I had money again, got a job again. So then clothes started becoming more and more of a thing, and H&M jeans weren't cutting it anymore, and t-shirts from H&M weren't cutting it anymore, and it kind of just, it grew from there and got, like with everything that's happened in the last few years, it started small and it just got really out of hand. Which is, I guess, kind of the way things go.
The way I kind of see it is, like you're saying, I feel like you were looking at clothes like as a functional perspective. Yeah. And then you kind of embrace the aesthetic, you know, a little bit like that. Yeah,
because like when you can look at shoes from that perspective too. I mean, most people
like you could look at Boost or like, you know.
Yeah, or even like I was into basketball, so like I was like, what's the performance specs in the sneaker? Or like, I'm buying a retro Jordan, can I play basketball in this Jordan? So I had 0 Jordan 1s and I now have 6 pairs. I had 0 of them because I was like,
Jordan 1's not comfortable to play basketball.
Oh, dude, no. Like, people do it sometimes just to be like, oh, look at me, dude. Yeah. But like, man, fuck.
And did Jordan play in them?
Yeah, in 1985.
Right.
So like in 1985, that's a sick basketball sneaker, but like it's 2014 at the time I'm buying these, so you've got like Nike Zoom at this point is it. Boost doesn't exist. Boost isn't great for basketball, but Boost doesn't exist, and you're starting to get Lunarlon, which is this like Nike Phylon foam that's super non-dense but holds itself really well, so you get this really responsive bounce back, but it's lightweight. And then you start getting that with the Zoom, so you get like these awesome technical sneakers are starting to come out for the first time, really, and lightweight stuff and low top ones that can really, like, you can wear them, play basketball in, because like there's this whole thing of like, wear high tops, you don't hurt your ankles. They started doing these really, really technically great sneakers. So that was like the first thing. I was super into tech, and I guess that kind of is what made me be like, even still having that functional perspective, because my parents, you're like, oh yeah, but look at the function of this, like it's great. And then slowly it was like, so that I was buying shoes for the tech, not the colorway, just the tech. And then it started becoming more like, oh man, but that one looks really cool. Like, I look cool playing basketball and that. And then it starts becoming like, oh man, it would be really cool if I wore that, like,
with this.
With, like, or even just like, I wore this, and then I'm like, oh, what do I wear with that? Whatever. And then slowly it starts becoming more and more and more as time goes by, like, this t-shirt is sick. I'm going to get this t-shirt. And it's like, oh man, it would go really cool with like the rest of this outfit, and it starts becoming different. It's not just shoes, then clothes, whatever. It's like clothes, and then everything's equal.
Yeah.
Which is kind of more what it should be, I think.
Yeah. And so it's just in 1985 there was like, it's just like, you know, the sole of the shoe is like, you know, whatever.
A Jordan 1 is like, they call it an Air Jordan. It'll say that it has an air sole unit in it, but I feel like it's pretty much just solid rubber.
That's whatever, what I was like, yeah. It's just, it feels like solid rubber.
You have a pair of Jordan 1s, right?
Yeah, well, I've had them.
You've had them, yeah. And like,
yeah.
Does that feel like you're walking a lot of... No.
And then the Jordan 2, but like, when was the first air bubble in them?
So you've got an air sole in that one, which is like an encapsulated air bubble. It came out maybe 3 years after the Air Force One, which was the first one to ever have an air unit encapsulated in a sneaker for sports. Actually, that might have been the first time they ever did.
And was that useful? Like, was that...
Yeah, Air Force Ones, even like, I think Air Force Ones are comfortable as hell, but like air as a cushioning tech was like, if you think about it, like if you're somebody who wears sneakers at that time before an air unit comes out, you're walking on like EVA at best.
Because what I was getting at is like, I only found out recently that the Converse Chuck Taylor was first a basketball shoe.
Yeah.
And that's why I was kind of just interested in the spec of how the basketball shoe evolved, because you were saying that it kind of transitioned even to low top shoes.
Yeah, so like you start off with this thing that's like it's a Chuck Taylor, and it's vulcanized rubber, so it's like more durable, and it like the traction pattern is pretty well designed. It grips the ground pretty good, and it's cheap, and you can just beat them up. And it has that toe cap, so if someone stands in your foot, like your toes aren't getting mushed. That's like tech then. And then you get this evolution towards like you get more support, because that's what people wanted. And ankle support and like high tops, and you get these like mad looking high top sneakers, because the realization wasn't that, like, if you think about running shoes, you know the like heel counters you get and everything. The purpose of a heel counter and that like structure is that it holds your heel in place, which is the key part to ankle stability. But that wasn't a thing then. In the old day, yeah. So you had like high top sneakers because it's going to wrap your ankle up.
It's like the closest they had.
Yeah, like an ankle brace. And then like you start moving towards like you're getting more bulky uppers and you're getting thicker midsoles, but they're not like, the cushioning tech isn't getting better, it's just getting like thicker. And then you get a Jordan 1 and the Nike Air sneakers, and they're like, they've got an air unit, it's like bounce back, so that's like proper shock absorbing, and that's different. So then you move from there, it starts getting like more and more like different air pods, different like
cushioning technology,
different cushioning tech. So you get up to like the Jordan 6 maybe, and they move from having polyurethane midsoles, which suck, through to like the 7 has Phylon, which is a more non-dense rubber, so it's comfortable. And then as you go on and on, it keeps going like that, and then you hit like this era where Nike has Kobe signed, KD signed, and LeBron signed, and you start getting like the Kobe shoes are like, he is a really big football fan, and he saw soccer players wearing like, you know, football boots are low top, and they're not spraining their ankles, but they're sprinting and cutting and turning and getting tackled to the ground by people, and they're not spraining their ankles every day. So you start to think like, why is that a thing? That like, why can they have support in a low top, but basketball shoes are always high top and they're heavy? Like, you can move faster in a lighter sneaker. So then there starts being this race towards light sneakers, and Nike does the Kobe, I think the Kobe 4 was the first low top one they did that was really good. And it's got this heel counter that grabs the hell out of your heel and a collar, and it's like, it's one of the best sneakers of all time. And there was a huge technical shift. That's really crazy. Yeah, no,
I never knew, kind of like, and so in a way, do Jordans get better to play basketball in, like the later?
Yeah, the later you go, the better they get, more or less.
In terms of performance.
Yeah, so like, you might get like to like the 16, and then maybe the 17 isn't as good as the 16, but the 18 sweet. I've never worn any of the older ones, because what did happen was Jordan retired. So the last shoe he played in and was good in was the 14. So you have like the last shot colorway of that. He hit his last shot for the Bulls. He retired. The 15 came out, which is garbage. He came back. The 16 came out. The 17 came out, but he wasn't that good anymore, and he wasn't like, you know, basically God in a basketball jersey.
So when was the first Emporium event?
Oh my God, I don't even know the date.
It was like probably 8 months ago, like 9 months ago now?
No, it was definitely sooner? It was this year. Oh yeah, I had a date and I had to cancel it. And then
sorry, it was March.
Yeah.
And then it might have got pushed back to April-ish.
I think it just got pushed back, like, I think I pushed it back like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was like around the time of my birthday. I think that's why I remember.
Yeah. We'll say like March. I could really just check my Instagram and it would.
scroll. What's your Instagram?
At I am Rob FK, so it's I_am_Rob FK.
Shout out.
You gotta separate that out, and then the Emporium Instagram is Emporium_IRL.
So how did that first event go?
So the first event, I was not ready for what that ended up being. So
So did it kind of just go from concept, and you just kind of was like, let's throw that spaghetti at the wall and figure it out?
Yeah, I kind of have a habit of doing that. Which is why Sneakerhead Ireland got so out of hand. I'm kind of like, I'll do something and then I'll figure it out like while it's happening. So, which is, I mean, I think that's a really good way of doing stuff.
It's better than not doing anything.
Yeah, and I leave everything like really vague and let it continue forming. So like, I'll be forming something even when I'm having a conversation with someone about something.
Yeah.
Like if I told you,
it could spark a new idea in your head.
If I'm talking to you about the next Emporium event, I'm probably still deciding things, and I might say something in that conversation because I just realized something new. So I left everything a little bit vague. I sent an email the day before, told people what time to show up in terms of like brands to set up, and I had it planned out in terms of time. I knew when we were going to open, when we were going to close. I knew who was going to be there, and I knew the sponsors we had, but I did not have any idea how many people were going to show up.
And so you had contacts in Total Vintage?
So yeah, one of my friends, Ayuba, runs Total Vintage, and more so than being a friend, he's even like someone who's been really great in giving me advice. I'll go in and talk to him about business. I'll go in and talk to him about clothes, like whatever it is. And he's always been great with that. And I actually met him when I did a restoration for them. I used to restore sneakers. I met him years ago. And I remember I brought them in and he said to me like, oh, you're a businessman. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're making a sales pitch right now of like, hire me. And it's really good, but I can't hire you because you're too young. I was like 16 or 17. And I've known him since then. And I talked to him about an event. And I was talking to him about like, oh yeah, I might do it in this place, And he was like, just do it here. I was like, what? What do you mean just do it here? And he's like, just do it here. It'll be great. Just do it here. So he was nice enough to give me the basement for the whole, like basically the whole day. And we set up that morning. He helped us set up. He helped us close up. He helped with everything. And he was really great to give me like that space and give us that space and to give us the like, even just telling people about what was happening and being there for it as well. But yeah, he gave us that space, and I expected about 200 people to show up. So I asked VidHit, I had a contact for VidHit through the Trendy Fashion Society, and I asked VidHit for like 200 bottles. Told them I didn't have any other sponsors as well, which is good. So I had about 100 cans of Red Bull as well for when the VidHit, if the VidHit ran out, like just in case, you know, because you never know. And about 500 people showed up. And the room was pretty small, so I have like these like 9-10 brands packed into this room anyway. And you know, it's all right when there's not that many people in. And then you hit the peak of the event, and you can't walk from one end of the room to the other.
Was that like lunchtime, like 1 or 2?
Yeah, like 1 or it was like from like we opened at 1 and it was calm, and I was like, all right, this is great, this is fine. You know, we got like 20 people in here. Let's say we have 20 every like 15 minutes cycling through. That's a pretty decent number of people. You know, the brands are gonna be happy. We might sell some stuff that'd be sick. And the first thing sold like real quick, and I was like, that's pretty cool. All right, cool, yeah.
Like an item sold out.
Yeah, no, an item sold from like maybe Unit sold a t-shirt to somebody, and then Nostalgia sold a t-shirt to somebody, and then some tourists came in and bought a t-shirt. That was in the first like five minutes, and I was like, okay, all right, cool. I'll take 5 minutes of that. And then everyone ever just showed up, and it was sick. Like the VidHit ran out. I had to throw out the Red Bull. The Red Bull ran out. Everyone was like talking to these brands, talking to each other. It was like it ended up being a combination of a meetup, a networking event, and a commerce event. Like Diamond Piece sold out. Nostalgia almost sold out. Like one of the brands, Secure Studios, had stuff on show. People were checking that out. Fortune Lago sold a good few things. Like everybody's selling stuff. And we have all these people in this room, and it's crazy. Like, if anything, my only complaint about the event is it was too busy.
Yeah.
And like, it was the first time I've done anything. That's the best complaint ever. You know, I can figure out how to make it less busy. I can't figure out how to make it more busy. That's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard to get people into something, but when there's just that there's that love for something, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea behind having like 9-10 brands together is, let's say you got 10 brands. We're in Ireland, and everybody who's doing these clothes, they maybe have 20 people who really truly mess with their stuff. And if they threw a pop-up by themselves, they might get 20 people who are actually going to show up and maybe buy something. So you got a 20-person audience. What's the point? So let's say you get 10 of them. You got a 200-person audience. So that's big. And exactly. that's like, my calculation was like pretty much like, yeah, we'll get like 200 people from them, and then maybe another 50 people just pop by. So we end up with about 200 people from them. maybe more actually, and then you end up with a whole bunch of other people who are like, in this place you have pretty much everything that I'm aware, like that we're aware about under one roof that's going on in Dublin in terms of fashion being made here. So you have all these designers in one place, and if you're into clothes, you can now just show up and have it all in front of you.
Exactly.
And like going forward, it's occurred to me that like we can have this Emporium event being a showcase of what Ireland's doing, and it doesn't just have to be clothes. It can be music, it can be art, it can be a combination of everything. And that's what I want it to be.
Another classic example of you figuring it out as
right?
you threw it out.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like I didn't think about that when I first thought of it, and it popped in a conversation, and like at some point someone was like to me like, Fortune was like, oh, it could be like, you know, you're going to be a trade show. You like buyers would come and they'd like pick stuff. You could end up being a trade show. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I thought of that. No, but like, and whenever someone says something to me like that, I'll pretty much just right there be like, damn, I didn't think of that. That's great.
And even different ways of showcasing it, like they probably just had like items on the wall and stuff.
Yeah,
we
had rails.
You
like,
never know what might happen.
Going forward, like we're trying to figure out like a fashion show more or less, where we can have every brand style a model, and that model doesn't have to be a professional model. You just get your friends, because this is supposed to be like, I want this to be independent and not like you have to have everything super manufactured.
Exactly.
In terms of the like atmosphere, like it can just be real.
Yeah.
And that's really cool, like for me to see this, like we can just have something be super vague and we can figure it out as it goes along, and it can be natural and real and like,
but it goes to show
authentic.
Like the authenticity, and you know 500 people showed up for the first event, so
yeah,
it's going to be exciting to see what grows from all of this, like everything that's planned in the next couple of months.
Yeah, and it's great fun figuring it out. It's great fun like meeting people, and it's great fun like, I want everything to be collaborative as much as possible. Like obviously if I'm organizing it, I want the final say, but I want people involved, because yeah, you're like, you as an individual, you can be all the great you want to be, but you're one person.
Exactly.
If you have the ideas of like 20 people who have half an idea about something each, you got 10 sweet ideas right there. And like, it doesn't need to be, oh, look what I did. It's like, look what we did.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
But even the time, like with me with the podcast and the magazine, and then trying to meet like, you know, whatever, and like you have your fingers in so many different pies. It's better to, you know, let go of some of that.
Totally, yeah, man, you'd lose your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, do you record every podcast by yourself and edit all of them by yourself and post them all by yourself? No, like that'd be insane. Like we're still we're of course normal people. Like I have a job and an internship and like a life that I want to live, and like I'll be back in college soon, and so will you, and you're working 2 jobs right now as well. You were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Like it's tough to do stuff, and I think that's a barrier for a lot of people, because it's so hard to find the energy to be proactive.
Exactly.
When you're doing so many other things. But when you can like really motivate yourself to do that, like I haven't even thought about like, I need to motivate myself to do something. I'll just do it because it's like, it's the only logical thing to me.
Exactly. That's what I've been noticing since starting this podcast. I almost feel like you just need to get a snowball going, and then it'll just pick up momentum. Like you'll feel, I think I was saying it to you on the way up, you'll start feeling the responsibility of like, oh wait, I kind of have something here though. If I just did that, then I'll have this, and then you don't even need motivation. It just becomes
it just becomes a thing that you like. It occurs to you to do. You want to do it, so you.
Everything else then seems less important. Like you know, the way you could just watch Netflix or go out.
Yeah, man, I haven't watched TV in like a year, like at least by myself. Like if I'm at home, I'm probably either A, shopping, which is dumb, B, trying to think of what I want to do next, or like C, I'm like actually asleep because I'm doing something 7 days a week.
Exactly.
And that catches up with you, but like I think I'd lose my mind if I didn't.
Exactly.
It gets to that point, like when you start doing so much, if you stop for a while, it's like you're sitting there and you're like, I need to do something. Which is a sweet problem to have.
Exactly. And it goes to show that it's worthwhile. Like we're both, you know, putting in 50 hours a week or something, and we're still like,
it's the thing I want to do right now. Like
exactly.
One thing I've always thought is like do as many things as you can while you're like able to do the things.
Exactly.
Like I played a lot of basketball when I was a kid because my body worked then and it was great fun. And my body doesn't work so good anymore, so I'm cool putting my energy into something else I can do. But I want to do some, like, it has to be something. Because there's no point in remaining stagnant, because then, you're 40 and you have an office job and everything sucks.
Exactly.
And I don't want that, so I'm going to put in some work now.
Exactly. Well, I think we'll leave it there. If you have anything you want to plug, finally, like, closing thoughts.
Please follow me on Instagram. Not my personal. You don't need my personal. If you want to follow my personal, Dope. But you gotta hit me at Emporium_IRL on Instagram. Stay tuned with our next events. If you like clothes, if you like shoes, if you just like the Dublin culture and style and the culture, and even you just want to come and look at something someone else made and think I could do something better, do it. Just like, honestly, if you think you can do something better, please do it. I want to see everybody doing everything they can. Come network, come hang out, come talk about clothes.
Exactly. Social. Sticker giveaway.
I actually just got an insane. Do you have any handy?
No, they're over there.
Okay. Oh, I think I have one in here. Waste bags. These are kind of crushed, but we just got sticker right there. The Chanel ripoff that will be on a t-shirt shortly. And then you got yourself a big old Emporium logo. I really messed up with these, so I did these like maybe 1 a.m. I just listened to the last episode of this podcast. At that time, it was the Shane 2N one. If you haven't listened to it already, you got to listen to it. He is fantastic. I actually texted him straight away afterwards just to say that it was so good. But they have these guidelines and stickers. I ignored all of them. So that's supposed to be like maybe like here to here. But I messed up, so that's on me. If you want a bunch of those, then hit me the hell up. If you want the Chanel ones, also hit me up. I'll post them out to you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for coming on, Robbie. Appreciate it, man.
Cool.